I'm making this video for those of you that are joining me in an event in Yelapa, Mexico. Um, I've been going down there for so many years, and there's just tips and things that you can do to make everything much easier. And I felt if you could hear it through my voice, as well as have the handouts that we've given you on your person, then it can be much easier. So Puerto Vallarta Airport is a fairly small airport compared to other big cities in Mexico. So once you go down to, I think you get your bag and you go through customs. Once you go through customs, the door's going to open and there's this long corridor with a lot of vendors, including money exchange, shuttles trying to sell you packages, also taxi drivers. It can be really overwhelming if you're not accustomed to that. And what I personally do is not engage with anybody. I have my luggage. I'm walking through this little bit of a maze. Sometimes I put on my sunglasses just to not make eye contact with people. And I get through that portion of the airport. These glass doors will open and you'll still be inside the airport, but out of all that commotion where you see people checking into their flights, you'll see another door ahead of you that opens to the street. I would recommend getting pesos before you start your journey if you haven't got them from your bank before you left. And I would suggest the ATM machines that are more out to this general public area after the customs and after this maze. There are ATMs. It's still not going to give you the best rate, but maybe you get a couple of $100 and then at least you'll have some pesos. Most taxis take pesos, but there are some places that some places that take dollars, but I think it's just good to have some pesos. That's just my personal opinion. Until you can get into Puerto Vallarta, there are banks that you can go in and exchange that way, or there are other ATM machines, and that's personally what I do, that just has a much more comfortable rate. I don't like to bring a lot of cash into Mexico until I get there. I have about a couple of $100 US. I'm American, in my pocket for emergencies, and then I'll have about a couple of $100 in pesos. That's personally my comfort zone. You may have your own, something else you might like to do. But anyway, so you get out of this maze into the main part of the airport where the ground floor, go through the doors, and there's taxis. Okay, so then you'll want to get a taxi. Depends on whether you're going directly from the airport. If you get there early enough, directly to Yelapa, you'll need to take a taxi to Los Muertos Pier. This will be down below in the description as well as in the handouts we send you via email. It's about approximately 25 minutes from the airport to get to the pier, depending on traffic. I like to recommend staying one night in Puerto Vallarta, regardless of what time you get there, because it's a really long travel day. And I recommend finding a hotel in the romantic zone. Puerto Vallarta's has different districts, I guess you could say. There's Nuevo Vallarta, which is the newest part. That's where a lot of the bigger hotels are. And then there's downtown. But why I like the romantic zone is it's a little older and there's cobblestone streets and it's just quaint and charming. It's gotten safer I've always felt safe in Mexico. This part of the world, I've never had any problems, and I don't know of anybody that's had problems. But I like going to the romantic zone because it just feels like people are more heart-centered and less pushy, and I just feel comfortable there. But the romantic zone is where Los Muertos Pier is, as well as Los Muertos Beach. So I'm suggesting that you find a hotel. We're gonna suggest some that are close to the pier. Then you can just check out of your hotel and you can wheel your own luggage onto the pier. This brings me to my next point, actually, is that there are vendors on the streets or the alleys that lead up to Los Muertos Pier. They want to sell you tickets. Because I don't speak fluent Spanish, I don't stop and engage with that because they're usually always trying to sell you something else. So what I do is I'll just get onto the pier. So you're going to walk, however you're going to get to the pier, and there's different ways to go, different streets, is then you're going to hit the beach and then you're going to see this pier, and it's a beautiful pier. It's like a huge sculpture. It's lit up at night, and it's it's shaped like a sailboat, a sail of a boat. And it's kind of round, it's very contemporary. And the boat taxis are at the end of this pier. So there are people there that can sell you a ticket. They will only take pesos typically, unless you're really good with Spanish and you can change dollars and get the right amount. I wouldn't deal with that. I would definitely get some pesos. And I trust those guys, the guys that are running the boats. And you'll have a schedule of when the boats leave to Yelapa, or you can also find that on the internet, leaving from Las Muertos Pier. And I would also buy a round-way ticket. That's cheaper than just one way. Most of the guys running the taxis speak English. So you can say, round trip, Yelapa, how much does it cost? It's always good to hear whoever you're dealing with. Before you buy something, is just ask, and you'll be able to know whether that feels right or not. You don't negotiate with the boat taxis. Sometimes you can negotiate with the taxi drivers, the land drivers, but typically they're used to tourists and charging the same cost. They also have Uber. If you have an app on your phone for Uber, you can get from the airport into either Las Muertos Beach or to Romantic Zone. Okay, so the last boat taxi to go to Yelapa, I think, is like 3 o'clock. I wouldn't push it. I feel safer having a reservation somewhere near the pier where I can just roll my luggage and just be there at the appropriate time. And it's fun, it's festive. There's a lot of hotels on that stretch of the beach that people are having a really good time. Or you can go a little bit away from the beach and find a less expensive hotel. There's wonderful restaurants in that part of town. And if you do like to party, there's plenty of dancing and really lively restaurants. Some of these we suggest will be in the description or in the handout that you can download before you get to Mexico. Okay, so let's see. Beyond here, beyond where let's see, I want to see if there's more tips I can give you. Let's see. Okay. Well, so what I do is I usually go 1 or more days before. I enjoy a night out on the town, get some good rest, and then I'm not as rushed to get on the boat taxi. Once you get on the boat taxi, there are a couple of different places to get off. Oftentimes the boat taxi goes into the bay of Yelapa and goes to the left. And Pura Vida's to the far right side of the bay. So you don't get off unless that's the only way to get off. You can ask the boat driver, tell them I'm going to Pura Vida, because there is another ramp, another dock on the opposite side where Pura Vida, you'll be closer to Pura Vida. So if you can, that's where you want to go. I would recommend actually reaching out to Carolyn. She's our host at Pura Vida, and she's a concierge, and she has white glove service. So if you want to reach out to Carolyn, I'll give you her email. I would highly recommend to make sure if there's any other tips that I'm not giving, that she can help you make sure you get over to the right side of the bay. You don't want to be stuck with your luggage on the beach in Yelapa, where all the restaurants are, because you can't roll your luggage. And you can get from the beach to Pura Vida, but you have to go through some buildings and walk away. So it's really important to have an idea of how you're going to get to Yelapa, but it's an adventure. It's part of what makes coming to this part of the world really fun. So please don't get discouraged. I just want to be truthful with you so that you can avoid some potential obstacles and be prepared. So yeah, having pesos is great. I like to tip the taxi drivers. If usually they all speak English. Don't be surprised that if they offer you a beer or water. That's typical when you get in a taxi. I like to tip service people well as the restaurant servers. Let's see. So you get to Yelapa. You want to make sure you're on the right side of the bay. You can Ask before you even get on the boat taxi. Say, I'm going to Pura Vida. Can you drop me off at the dock or the pier that's closest to that? And then they know already. And even if they go to the left to drop people off at that dock or pier, don't worry, they're going to be taking you over to the other side. Okay, once you get there, Carolyn and the staff will be there to help you with your luggage. Pura Vida has let me know that you can get there if they have room the day before, a couple days before, which I do also recommend. There's plenty to do in Little Yelapa during the day. The boats from Puerto Vallarta, the bigger boats with tourists, they drop off people at 10 a.m. and then they leave at 4 p.m. So when you're there in Yelapa, even when you're on retreat with me, the beach gets really empty at 4, and it's a really nice place to watch the sunset. So if you get there early, just ask Carolyn, and they'll set you up. I've been going there for probably 30 years. I was very young when I went there for the first time, when they didn't even have electricity and running water. And now it's still that charming. The people that work there and live there, I feel overarching, are wonderful, beautiful people. I'm never afraid. I don't feel taken advantage of. It's just the culture that wants to sell you things. If you're gonna be on the beach, people are gonna try to sell you pies. Actually, that's actually a fun thing to buy. Some of the ladies make these fresh pies Yelapa's famous for. I would recommend. But they're gonna sell you bracelets and keychains and necklaces. And if you want to engage with the locals, it's fun. But my suggestion, another tip, is to say no gracias. Not just gracias, which is thank you, but no gracias. That seems to, you might get a better result when you use those two words together. It just means you're not interested. And you can smile and be nice, but if they try to engage with you, then just repeat it over and over again. No gracias. No gracias, and they'll get the hint. Okay, I think that's about it. The only other thing I would like to say is I do like to recommend that after you check out a Pura Vida, if you're going back to Puerto Vallarta, I would suggest staying another night there, because it's just easier. It's more relaxing. Sometimes the boat can be choppy, the boat taxi, just to let you know if you have any tailbone issues or lower back issues with your neck. You want to make sure that you're traveling on a day that has pretty good weather, because the waves can get big. If the waves are bigger and you do get seasick, bring something for that. And then what I like to do is instead of staying rigid on the boat taxi, let your body kind of bounce and sway. Almost like instinctive nature when you're on there is don't just sit there and take the hit of the bumps with a boat taxi. Sometimes I even like to stand up a little bit to soften. You can also place a life jacket underneath your bum or a blanket. Also, you want to make sure if you're wearing a hat that it stays on your head, and they have shade on boat taxis as well. I hope I'm not scaring you, because that is not my intent. I'm just trying to be honest, and so that you're prepared what to expect and have an enjoyable experience. Anybody that I know that goes there, it just becomes part of the adventure. Is why I like going to Mexico in the first place. Is you're being asked to be present in every moment, letting go of everything from whatever's happened before that, and just enjoy the experience unfolding. So I guess that's it for now. If you have any questions, reach out to us, customer care at gentlesomaticyoga.com. That's Misha, my assistant and operations director. That's her email inbox. And also, please make sure to sign up for WhatsApp. That's an application on your phone of how we communicate when we're international. When we're in international destinations, as long as you're connected to Wi-Fi, or you have a plan where you can where you don't have to be on Wi-Fi. What do they call that? I'm drawing a blank right now. There's a setting on your phone. So call your cell phone carrier and find out if you can get on a plan to make sure that you can communicate when you're in Mexico, even when you're not on Wi-Fi. That's what I do. Data, cellular data. There's just certain things. I have Verizon, I'll call Verizon, I say, hey, going to Mexico, can you help me show me the right settings on the phone and have them walk you through it? If you do all of these things, I am confident that you are going to have an excellent, flawless adventure. And whatever comes your way, you'll just be able to be flexible and just be open to the experience. I can't wait to see you there. I'm getting the chills. What I've planned is so special. I always plan and organize retreats off the beaten path. That's why I'm helping you go through these steps, because I've intentionally created this off the grid experience where you get to meet the locals, the local artists, the local healers, really good food, incredible staff, everything that I'm recommending. If you follow along, it's going to be an amazing time. So I look forward to seeing you there, and yeah, lots of love.